Hello and welcome to another episode of the What's This About podcast. I'm your host, Andy White, and today is episode number 5. My special guest is my good friend, Monde Byrd. Monde is an actor, writer, producer, director, probably sometimes photographer. He's super multi-talented and knows how to multitask all these things in his life. So we're going to get into the creative process, the history of his career in acting, and all other things about that. Welcome and enjoy. Welcome to episode number 5 about the What's This About podcast.
Okay.
And our special guest today is Monde Byrd, longtime friend, fellow artist. You're here today. We're here to discuss your acting, your writing, your producing, your directing.
Wow.
What else do I need to add to that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Did you ever model?
I did.
There you go.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I could see you modeling.
I did. That was back in the day when when I was 177 pounds. Oh. Slim and fit, right?
Yeah.
That was a while ago. But wow. It's so funny you say that. I came across a magazine that I was in. I did a spread and code magazine. This was I think it was a Larry Flint publication back in the day.
Nothing pornographic.
No. It was literally, matter of fact, Lennox Lewis was on the cover.
Wow.
It was like his take on the for lack of better words, the urban fashion scene So I just came across that magazine. I hadn't seen it in I don't know how long, and dug in a box, and there it was, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So
he did. Flint Publications actually did a skate magazine too. They did a couple like offshoot magazines, and then the whole organization kind of just fell out. I don't know, but they were.
I think they're still around though, right?
I assume so. I guess Hustler's still around and stuff.
Sure.
Like
So
that,
it used to be on Wilshire, I think.
Yeah. Like on La Cienega on Wilshire.
Sure.
Right there. Yeah.
Sure.
But there was a lot of offshoot magazines like that at one point in like the 90s and then into the 2000s.
Right. Into the early 2000s. Yeah, that's right.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I think the spread was called To Sir With Love. They had a guy who kind of looked like Sidney Poitier and everything, so it was interesting,
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, because as long as we've known each other, we've had some pretty deep conversations.
Sure.
But they usually just, I'm sure we've talked about personal stuff or whatever, like background, but we definitely just delve into art and the artist's mind and stuff like that, So we get kind of lost in those conversations. But so first question, where were you born? Where did you grow up? Because I want to say you grew up in Virginia.
No.
That's wrong. Yeah.
Very wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, now I'm curious, where did you get Virginia from?
Because you were in the Army ROTC, right?
I did ROTC in undergrad, but that was just the extent.
Was that in Virginia?
No, that was in Fort Knox, Kentucky. So I attended Central State University.
Yeah.
And at the time
Ohio.
In Ohio, which is an HBCU, great university. It was historically educated, black people of color, if you will, at a time to where other universities, would not even accept them onto their campuses. So has a rich history there. And I was doing ROTC and went off and did a cycle at Fort Knox, which is the first cycle. The way ROTC works in college, you do 2 cycles. In a sense, and you go off and get commissioned. Yeah.
When you went to college, you majored in Spanish
and water resource management.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Can you still speak Spanish?
Sí, claro.
That's good. It worked. Yeah. You got your money's worth.
Yeah, it gets a little rusty here and there, but it only takes me, probably, an hour and 3 beers or something like that. I mean, I'm not a big beer drinker, but but just good company, and then it comes back.
Few beers, my New Jersey, New York accent.
Right. I bet. Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. But what? Right. So then, okay. So let's go back to the question. Then, where were you born?
I was born in Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in Michigan. So
that explains the Tigers hat.
That's right.
Which I was going to ask. Right. Which, as a baseball fan, next to the Yankees hat, a Tigers hat is a dope hat.
Sure.
It's you don't ever need to change it. Just like and you can. It's very close to the Yankees hat, where it's just it's a great style.
It's the old English D, if you will. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So you're born in Michigan.
That's right.
And then you grew up there?
I grew up there. Yeah, I grew up in Detroit and Ypsilanti.
This puts a whole different perspective on me knowing that you're a Detroit dude now. That's such a different perspective.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Wow.
So that's where I was raised and did undergrad in Ohio, which was also a whole big thing at the time.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. And then I was going to ask why you went to college in Ohio, but you kind of answered that already.
Sure.
And then...
but I wasn't... I mean, I literally... It's a funny story. So I wasn't a really good high school student.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I wasn't smart, but I just, I found it a bit boring at times.
It's the exact same. Like I just didn't apply myself.
Absolutely.
They put me in the smarter class.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't apply myself, and then I'd get into the normal class.
Exactly.
To be a little easier.
And what's funny is that I had had some friends who actually. Well, let me go back. Two of my sisters were going to the University of Michigan. I think one was already there. The next one had got accepted, was going there.
Yeah.
Then my oldest sister was looking at other career opportunities as well. I have 3 sisters.
Yeah.
But I had some friends talk to me about college. I think I might have been either a junior. I might have been like a junior, I think.
Yeah.
And they kind of hyped it up. It was one was a boxer, James Toney. James likes Tony, right? So he's a Michigan guy too. You know?
Yeah.
And then one of his guys, a guy named Jimmy. And they would tell me about Central State University. I'm like, oh man, okay, this sounds cool. And I got excited about college. I was like, man, this sounds really, really interesting. I knew my sisters were going there, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I had to graduate because my father, and mother wouldn't have played me not graduating. That would have been extremely unacceptable, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, but I wasn't sure where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. So, I applied to several different colleges, got accepted to some places. Different colleges and things like that, but decided on Central State, so that's
cool.
kind of how it came about.
Yeah. And why are you? So you have 3 sisters?
3 sisters, yeah.
And are you the baby?
See, when you say it like that, it kind of really fucks things up.
Well,
listen.
I am, and my sister gives me shit for it all the time.
I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm the youngest, right?
Okay.
So yeah.
No, there's no shame in that.
I mean, listen. When I was a little bit younger, it was always he's the baby of the family. Right? You get older, it's like I'm the youngest. All of my sisters are older than me, which is how I like to phrase it, right? I don't say I'm the youngest. They're the oldest.
Totally.
Debate and switch, right?
Yeah. Well, as we get older, too, if you say, well, they're the oldest, they're going to take offense.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You switch it up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, my sister, she gives me crap some of the times for it. She calls me the prodigal son because I could do no wrong.
Of course.
And I was definitely the black sheep in the family, where I was into punk rock, skateboarding, and all this stuff that, where I just didn't get in trouble a lot. Mm-hmm. But I was the son in a single mom family. Okay. There wasn't a lot that could be wrangled in,
And you grew up in New York, right?
In New Jersey.
Yeah,
I was born in New York City, and then I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay.
And, not far from New York. We were about a half hour outside the Holland Tunnel.
Yeah, I remember conversations back in the day. I think we had back when you were my vitamin pusher.
Snake oil salesman.
Snake oil salesman. What was it that spot on Beverly?
VP Discount.
VP Discount.
Yeah.
That's back when I was doing 2 days in the gym, and I would go in there, man, and and consult you on all the vitamins, and you say, dude, this is new, you
we had to keep you in shape for all these auditions.
Man, I appreciated that, believe me, But I remember some conversations you used to run the streets a little bit, right?
Yeah, I was a graffiti writer in New York City and New Jersey. And,
I remember that.
I came off in a book 2 years ago.
Okay.
I finally came out in a book, which was cool because you feel some recognition for
your
what you
work
did.
was published in a book?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
man.
and my name, not much. I wasn't interviewed or anything. But then this other book, this woman reached out to me, and they're doing a second book from a different book of a second book. And she interviewed me about New Jersey graffiti and stuff like that. Okay. So that was kind of cool too, But it's translated into my art, a lot, but,
Which is really cool, by the way, man. I love your art, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, shout out to you. This is how, how Andy gets individuals to purchase his art. You know, he gets over here for a little bit of a podcast, and you know, this is like the showing of the art. You know, you come in and spending some big bucks in here, right? You know, $20. You know,
I didn't intend to go to an artist and walk out spending money, but it just happened.
I love your work. If I was able to do so, I think I would purchase all of it. Honestly,
I appreciate that.
Your style is unique and really thought provoking. So and beautiful stuff, man. So
I appreciate that. Yeah,
so, for sure. Yeah.
This is the best podcast guest so far.
Yes. So. Is that all it takes? Oh, wait a minute. You know, where's the check at? Where's the check at? Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Well, the check is in the mail. Don't worry.
Okay, copy.
Yeah. So then my next question is, when did the acting spark start? Because I read on your bio, it seemed like it started in college, but was there anything before that?
You know, I had always had an interest in movies, right?
Right.
When I was a kid growing up, a child growing up in Detroit, my mom would. I remember her taking us, to the movies to see Star Wars, and I think we saw Indiana Jones. You know, for some reason, it's like anything that was like Lucas and Spielberg.
Yeah.
Like we had
the
big movies. You know, my mom was good with making sure we were, we had a chance to see it and whatnot.
Yeah,
and had all the Star Wars, figures. I wish I still had them to this day. But the Darth Vader case that you put the little figurines in. Man, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
But I always had an interest in movies and always enjoyed television. Although I don't ever remember saying I want to be an actor. I to be honest with you, I thought that maybe at some point I would be more of a singer or a dancer. I've always loved music.
Yeah.
And there was always music growing up. In the house. Whether it was at my mother's or at my father's. Music was always an important part for me. But it came about in college and in undergrad, and there was a play.
Yeah.
That was being produced, and the play was August Wilson's Fences, and I happened to see the flyer. A friend of mine, had the flyer, and I saw it, and I said, "Wow!" I said, "I'm going to audition for that."
Just out of the blue.
Just out of the blue. It was. I don't know whether I was, just kind of trying to be that guy, trying to flex a little bit, but but I said, I'm going to audition for this,
Yeah.
And, it was a little bit of bluff calling.
Yeah.
But I said, no, I'm going to audition for it. So me and my homeboy, AD, Adrian, we went to the Dayton Playhouse, and we sat in the parking lot, got ourselves together, and we went in. And, this was like my first audition period, and went in, and I remember the director, God bless her soul, Sheila Ramsey. I just found out she passed, I think, last year, which I had no clue. So she was responsible for giving me a break in the acting business via this play. I remember she asked me to wait outside after audition, and my buddy Adrian went in, and he got much of the same treatment. Can you wait outside? And people would go in and leave, go in and leave.
Yeah.
We're looking at each other like, whoa,
Yeah, like what's going on here?
What's going on here, And she brought me back in to the room and said, wow, I'm going to give you, I would like for you to play this role,
Yeah.
And it was a Corey Max and the Son, and Fences. And
when you went in for the audition, were you auditioning for anything specific, like for a specific role? Like, were you trying to be a certain character, or was it just a general thing, and then she was picking you for a part?
Man, Andy, I can't even remember. I think. I mean, honestly, I think she may have picked it because I don't remember. To be honest, I don't remember being aware of the play. I mean, I just knew it was like, from the flyer and from what I knew about it and the conversation I had, my other friend. I mean, I knew that like this was, a play that had some roles for me, right?
Right.
So it was like, okay, let me, I'm going to go in for it, And then when I got there, I think Sheila actually said, hey, read these, I want you to prepare for this here, And then I went in the room, and I wasn't. Shit, I didn't know what a cold read was. I was just, it was just kind of like destined in a way, right?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then when I got into it, I really started to fall in love with the idea of being an actor. The process of taking a look at a character's life and kind of dissecting it and finding out how to bring to the forefront the things that are necessary to tell this story, right?
Yeah.
And that was the start of my acting career. I was always a poetry writer. I used to write poetry quite a bit.
Oh, cool.
So that was something that was always there. So the writing, in a sense, was always in some capacity around.
Yeah.
I think I'm like a failed, not journalist in regards to, going out and reporting, but like self-journaling. I always, start a journal and unfortunately I never get all the way through it. There's probably like 20 books out there, in storage or probably in some dumpster somewhere from, just being lost in time.
I have the same thing.
Yeah, man.
Like writing lyrics or poems or just journaling,
Sure.
And then that stuff turns into other stuff.
It turns into other stuff. I've got journals that, it starts out with like a month or two of like journaling, like hardcore every day. And then there's like, some product number for some item at some store where it's like just start like jotting in the book, and then then that goes on for like 10-20 pages. So it's just kind of weird like that.
That's cool. Cool. So that's interesting because a lot of people see something when they're young, and then but it just happens at different times in your life, and
for sure.
It's pretty cool that you just were like, yep, I'm just going to jump off the cliff.
And I jumped.
Randomly. And the fact that you really, like, engage the process and that's something you took a love to, that to me is, like, when you're really true artist, because it's everybody wants to do, like, Dave Chappelle says, like, all musicians want to be comedians and all comedians want to be, like kind of thing. And it's like, because you just see it from afar and like people think like, oh, stand-up comedy, I could do that. And it's like, no. There's so much that goes into it.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think as an artist that you have to embrace that and you have to love that in order to really get to where you want to be.
That's right. That's right.
And that's, because, like just sitting here and doing a painting, that's a process, but you get lost in that process. It's like a meditation.
It is,
it's so like cathartic, therapeutic, just feels good, 100%. Love that stuff,
It's a great release. For me, when I'm writing or when I'm building out a character, if you will. Time just it becomes irrelevant.
Exactly. And it's so peaceful. You really get into an inner peace kind of place with it, when you get lost in there.
That's right.
So I have a question that, and I thought about this, and it's not even on my list of stuff, but I thought about this earlier for some reason. But like, I've always, as an artist, like whether it's been during my days as a musician or as a painter, the times, and I know sometimes this has to do with your state of mind in terms of like alpha state and stuff like that, where like when you first wake up in the morning and you're still in that half awake state, that's a creative state. And then late at night when you're kind of starting to get a little tired, you get that creative spark.
Sure.
Do you find that's still your most creative times as well?
It's I'm an extremely nocturnal individual. Right.
I know that about you, so that's why I asked. Because,
So pretty much anything that creatively that I do, I find that it's easier for me to do it when the world sleeps, right?
It's such a peaceful time.
Yeah. I can't say that when I wake up, that I'm like, oh, I need to write. I think, there's a part of me that would love to be so disciplined that I wake up and the first thing I do is pop open the laptop and write 15 20 30 pages every day in the morning before I do anything. But typically that's in reverse to me. Like typically at some point once I absolutely get going and whatever part of the day that I capitalize on, or how I capitalize on the day, shall I say, I don't want to make it sound like I'm sleeping 24/7. It's just that I literally am a nocturnal person. So once my day is done, my errands are done, everything is complete. At some point in the early hours of the night, I typically find time to do.
That's when it starts coming.
Yeah, it starts coming, and then that rolls over into, 1 hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, and I look up and it's, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, let me get at least 3 hours of sleep or 4 hours of sleep to get back up, right? So and then some nights it's earlier. Some nights, I can sit and literally just focus. I start at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, whatever time it may be, and I look up at it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, let me shut it down. 4 o'clock in the morning, we shut it down and get 5 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep. That usually is the best way to make that happen. But typically it's the early hours in the morning. For me. Yeah.
So as I've gotten older, like I used to go to bed really late, and then still get up at normal time. Now I can't. Now I need a little more sleep.
Sure.
But I've found that sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I've found that I'm hitting that creative spark in the morning as well. Mm-hmm. And so it happens like I'll be like, oh, I have to get up for work tomorrow.
Sure.
And I'll get this creative spark at like midnight. I'll be like, because I'll go through it for a while, but then I usually have to cut off and something like that and revisit it. But I'll get up in the morning before work too, and I'll just feel like, man, I wish I didn't have to go to a job today because I'm feeling, I have all these ideas and, I meditate in the morning. So stuff comes to me in the meditation, and so I'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that happens too. I mean, there's some times where, I've actually shut off from, shut off before to the point to where, I just binge write, I would just literally, 12 hours, 14 hours. I would just write, and get to your messages and, it's like 20 text messages or how many ever, people want to talk to you that day, right? But you just completely get drawn in that realm of creativity, and which is where I like to live mostly, to be honest with you.
It's a great place to live.
It is, yeah.
If you're swimming in that pool, you're just, you're at your best.
That's right.
Do you ever get those moments where you get like a great idea, a spark of creativity, but then you're maybe not in a place, or you have to do something and you can't visit it, and then you feel like you're going to lose that forever?
Sure. I mean, I think that happens to me. I mean, I can't say that. I can't say that it hasn't. I try to keep like notes. Like if an idea comes to me, I'll just try to write it down. Like I've got like a bundle of like receipts or like a bag piece with with some idea on it. I used to carry around a pad. And I would always write down ideas or someone says something interesting. Like that's a cool piece of dialogue. So I'd write it down. Which could serve purpose as for writing as a character or just writing in general. But I definitely have those moments to where something hits you and you want to get to it. You're chomping at the bit, but for whatever reason, timing or just it's not lining up with that desire to immerse yourself within that zone. You know, but then that's where the struggle happens. That's where the real challenge is. Anyway,
it is
finding that time.
It's interesting because I've had like song ideas come to me, and that initial spark, you have this whole vision of it, and it's just I feel like that's a separate entity to what you eventually build. Okay. Because then whatever I build off that, it goes in not necessarily a total different direction, but it's not like the original spark necessarily. It's just like that spark was there to spark that bigger vision or something, and it's weird because it's not always what you, it's like life, like point A and point B. It's not a straight line.
Sure.
And so sometimes stuff goes, but I think that's, there's I don't want to say good and bad, but there's like just different ways it happens to where sometimes you get that spark and it's just a direct, like exactly what that is going to become, and you just do that.
Sure.
And then other times it kind of goes different ways, and it becomes something totally different and beautiful, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think that. So the creative process, you know, I think is, you know, it becomes an entity of its own, right? It becomes a breathing, living kind of thing in itself, right? So you know, and each, you know, from project to project, I mean, there's always, you know, different subtle nuances that come about, you know, with each project, if you will. But also there's certain things that are consistent too. I think that you know, if nothing more, as a professional, you always try to embrace, you know, your approach or the way that you go about, you know, dealing with the creative process. You know, right. You know, if you just say, okay, well, no matter what, each day I need to, you know, watch a movie. Write 5 pages to you know to 15 pages, you know, of something, you know, and read a script, right? You know, now you may not be, you know, certain people may not be disciplined to say, okay, I'm going to do this in the morning, this in the afternoon, but typically if you have at least an agenda and you get that done throughout the day, you map it day to day, whatever it may be. As long as I think you have a plan of attack to exploring and staying in that creative realm. That's what's important, you know. Yeah.
No, I hear you, because it's interesting. Like, I'll go through days where I just can't really work on like that painting. Like, I don't do anything.
Sure.
But just staring at it, you know, it'll help. And then sometimes putting it away completely and bringing it back helps. But then I'll do different mediums. I'll draw. Mm-hmm. You know, I'll work on the iPad. Like, I've gotten the iPad drawing now. You know, like I work with that, and like, just as long as it's something that you're working towards your goal or putting in that creative effort that day.
Okay.
Every little bit helps, and I realized that because it's like sometimes I'll do a painting and I'll be like, this wasn't that great.
Sure.
I'll do another painting. I'll be like, that's all right. You know. But that third painting that happens because of those 2 other paintings that weren't like your favorite.
Sure.
But that third one is like, I love this painting, and it would never have happened if you didn't do those 2 others.
2 paintings, that's
so
right.
it's like you have to keep going.
Got to keep going.
Keep creating.
Got to keep creating.
You know? Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that, and this is no slant or slam to digital art, because obviously digital art is such a huge...
Oh, it's big,
It's huge, man, you know? And there's some really nice pieces that come out of that. I went to an art show, I think it was the beginning of this year, end of last year, and there were quite a few, like, digital art pieces that were just amazing. Like, I marveled at them, like, wow, like somebody did this on, you know, on an iPad or whatever, or computer, you know? What's your take on the for lack of better words, level of intimacy that's obtained from actually using your hands with paint and brushes and so forth on, you know, versus, you know, an electronic pen or because I thought about that was the one thing that kept jumping in my head when I'm looking at these pieces. How much of a process, especially like an intimate process, did this artist have with doing the digital art versus you know versus a painter or sculptor?
Well, I think it's interesting because and it's an interesting question because as technology grows, like now you have all these art experiences like downtown. They do them. I think it's called Winsome. Okay. And they'll be, I guess, kind of like what it was back in the day when we had the planetarium type things where they do Pink Floyd on Friday nights, and it's basically like, you know, the light show, the laser light shows and stuff. Right, like those were the early days of the technology type art experiences. So, but what I've seen with a lot of the art is in terms of the tie to the technology is the social media, where it's like it's a social media opportunity, like an Instagram photo opportunity, but that's one aspect. And then the other aspect, what you're talking about, where you're actually creating the art with technology, it's, you know, like, it's hard because it's new.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't think it's correct to just say like, oh, it's not as intimate. Mm-hmm. But what we know and what we grew up with and what we were born into, it doesn't seem as intimate because, you know, we've seen the blood, sweat, and tears go into art over the years that's not that way. Sure. But the thing that's, I guess you can kind of equate it to like DJing. Like when I grew up and going to clubs in New York and stuff, if you didn't know how to actually spin records, what records to play in order to keep the crowd rocking, and all that stuff, you'd get laughed out of the club, you know? Now it's like you have Paris Hilton up there just on an iPad, you know, or whatever, and like she's like, you know, a big DJ and stuff like that. And, you know, kudos to her or whatever.
Sure,
but,
absolutely.
You know, she seems really into it or whatever. But there's a lot of people out there like, I'll go to a bar or a club, and they can't DJ for shit. And you're just like, and even, not even like that they can't mix or something like that, but they don't even know how to play songs correctly and what to play after it. And like, they just like slam out of one song right when everybody's into it. And it's terrible, you know. But so with the art, I would say it's kind of the same thing. You can have people that they can kind of cheat. Okay. You know what I mean?
Okay.
With technology can kind of help them to cheat to create stuff where, you know, how much of their creative mind are they really using? Compared to how much technology is really just the big factor.
I think there's definitely some intimacy with that, but I'm curious on the level of intimacy, like that, you know, you as an artist, like
you lose some,
sure,
for sure. You know, like there was one where I forget where it was, but I found it on Instagram. My friend and I were talking about it because he's an artist as well, and like basically there was a robotic arm at this art museum.
Okay. And
you could go online and pick the dot that you wanted and the color, and then the arm would put a dot on this wall. So it was creating this big painting of all these people all over the world picking their favorite colored dot, and then the arm would put it on there. So it was, and he was saying, this is stupid. This is not. It's more of just an interactive technology experience to me than it is really like. There is a piece of artwork at the end.
Sure. But
to your point, it's like there's no real true intimacy there. It's just kind of a technology thing. So there's a lot of gray area there, I think. And I think we still have a lot to learn.
Okay.
And the art experience will change. But I think this, when it comes to the digital art, because like with growing up as a graffiti artist, you basically did a graffiti piece on a wall and then it was gone.
Sure.
You know, like, so the only thing you have of that is photos, you know, the proof that you even did it, proof that it even existed. And it's not like people do now where, like, there's a Banksy piece and people are cutting out the wall to, like, take that home or something.
Sure.
That didn't happen with graffiti. And there's millions of graffiti pieces that just, you know, you'll never see the actual piece again. And so I think with art, like on a canvas, one of the things that's so personal and intimate about that is that's a piece of art. You can hold it, you can put it in your home, you can buy it, and it's yours. And with digital art, it's like once it's online, what's the difference of what it is online compared to what you would put in your home per se? Sure. So there's all kinds of roads you can go down to kind of like get into that intimacy part of it, you know?
I just had an idea, like, I don't know, just this thought, this comedic thought, like you're talking about the graffiti that you did on wall somewhere, there's some detective who's listening. We finally found that guy, you know? We finally found that guy, Andy White, you know? You know, go get him, guys, you know?
There's things like I keep my graffiti world separate from my art world, you know? And I know friends that still, like, nobody knows who they are, what they look like, you know? And that's, the graffiti world is kind of an anonymous world. And like, when you're in that world, you knew all these characters, all these people, and then, you know, years later you see what they look like, and you're like, that's what that guy looks like, you know? Like, holy cow, you know? Because as people get older, they don't care anymore. They're just like, yeah, this is me, you know?
Right. Like you, right now.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, okay.
But, yeah, it's interesting, that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So going back to you.
All right.
I'm getting the interview flipped on me.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
But, yeah, this is how our conversations go. We just get deep into the artistic process.
Right. That's right.
So you got into the play in college, and that was your first experience in acting.
That's right,
you eventually came to LA.
Professional experience.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So then where did it go from there? What was the next thing you did, and how did it start rolling to where you eventually got to LA?
Sure. We had a really good run at that, you know, of that play. It was at the Dayton Playhouse. Sheila Ramsey was the director. Brilliant director.
And sorry to cut you off. I don't know the story of that. What was the basic idea of the story of Fences? I know Fences? I've heard of it, but...
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Andy, maybe you know who August Wilson is, right?
No.
Andy.
August Wilson or Elvis Wilson? I'll do my research. I didn't do it on that. I didn't know I was going to get chastised here for not doing my research on that.
August Wilson is like one of the premier writers. If you want to say American playwrights, you know, he was an amazing playwright, to say the least.
All right.
It's a reason why his work is produced all around the world.
Yeah.
Particularly, he had a way of really capturing the American experience through African American eyes.
Oh, okay.
You know, in a period of time.
Yeah.
And that was especially trying, right?
Yeah.
You know, and Fences was a family play, or shall I say a play, that dealt with some serious family, you know, some familial, economic,
right.
You know, social issues.
Yeah.
You know, I can't.
This is why I do the podcast, though, to learn about people and learn about stuff.
I'm not trying to be an asshole. I just
no. It's your field, not mine. You know.
Yeah, but he is. You know.
Yeah.
You know who? Okay. August Wilson.
Yeah.
Make sure you look him up.
I will
okay.
for sure.
Okay, cool. Okay, and there's some plays online. I mean, you know, there's been so many great actors who have done August Wilson plays and still are doing them. You know, Denzel did the Fences. You know, was that 2 years ago? I think.
Yeah.
You know, him and Viola Davis. You know, and you know, and it was received very well. It was done very well. You know, so
okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So check out August Wilson. Check out all of his plays. You got homework now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, maybe the part 2 will be you discussing.
There's a test.
There's a test. You know, for sure. So yeah. But after that, what happened is I ended up getting an offer from. There was a company called First Frontier, I think it was, and they produced a play called Blue Jacket. And Blue Jacket was a story about a gentleman or a guy who banded with the Shawnee tribe of Native Americans. And you know, and went on to fight against, you know, the colonists and you know, those individuals who were trying to disrupt the Shawnee way of life.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was an interesting work experience because the story was rich. You know, You know, the story was like, it was a rich story. It was an epic outdoor drama. So it was like a huge, you know, for lack of better words, a huge amphitheater. You know, we had horses. We had, you know, you know, stunts. I would do like this. I don't know, this 50-foot high fall. You know.
Wow.
You know, and
that's pretty risky.
You know, man, it was all kind of stuff. You know, the problem was that it lacked diversity. You know, so here's a story about Native Americans, and you know, the crazy part was when I think back on it now, it's like, and actually I brought it up to the production at the time, like is there a way to get more Native Americans on this production, right? You know, because we're telling this story, and look, all the actors, you know, I think their intentions were in a good place. The problem was that. Eventually, you know, I think that it was a disservice to the story because there wasn't you know, there weren't some genuine voices coming from a particular tribe or sect of people, right? You know, my character I played was like an escaped slave who banded with the Shawnee to fight against, you know, the oppression and things like that. So, and ironically, my buddy Adrian, who we did Fences together, ended up being my understudy at that time, and you know, I should say Dr. Price. He's a doctor now, so shout out to Dr. Price, right? So you know, so anyway, it was an interesting story. I think the individual's intentions were in a good place, but it lacked some things that ultimately I think was a disservice to the story and the experience as a whole. You know, but for me. At the time, it was a great learning experience. Right. In so many ways. I mean, becoming familiar with stage combat, for sure, it was still acting. It was, you know, the story was rich. You know,
And this was all still in Ohio, right?
This was still in Ohio, yeah. This was still in Ohio, for sure.
Well, I think with that, what you're talking about with the authenticity, I think that's changed over time. Like, because compared to back then to now, and not saying it was right.
Sure.
Like, I think you're right, 100%. Like, you know, you're like, hey, we're telling the story, but we're not any of these people.
Sure.
So how are we really... conveying.
Well, I was, I could reach deep into my character bank, for sure.
Yeah. But the Indians, I'm saying, like how you're saying, there wasn't.
There was one, Greg. I think his Indian name was Bear, if I'm not mistaken. Really, really, really cool guy, and we would talk often about it,
Yeah.
Like we had some very genuine conversations about. Probably what should be happening, and I was always in support of his cause to to try and bring about more of those authentic voices to the production, in a good way. And it wasn't, there was no, there was no disruption to the production. It was just, right. He would have some genuine gripes, if you will, and and I was often an ear to that, for whatever reason, maybe some are the obvious reasons, but we would have very good conversations about that, which also I think ultimately played into my understanding and my appreciation of diversity, especially, moving forward. But that was a production I did, and then I ended up leaving that production. I did it for 2 years, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that for 2 years. We did it. It was a summertime production.
Yeah.
And then the second year I left early because that's my mind is, I'm recalling all this stuff now. This is I'm getting older, Andy. You're making me dig deep.
Yeah.
I left the production early in the right way. I think because I was coming to California. I knew I wanted to make the jump.
Did you know anybody out here?
No, I literally, man, I had a couple friends who went to undergrad who had like family out here, and I came once.
Right.
Just to kind of check it out, right? Yeah. It's like, yo, we're going home. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna go with you,
Yeah.
But in the back of my head, I'm like, man, I should probably go. This is my recon. This is me doing,
For sure.
So I went one time, which is a crazy story about that too. But went one time and literally looked around and then went back, and I remember I think there was an audition that I wanted to go to in New York because my plan originally was to go to New York and get into theater and whatnot, and explore New York first, because I've fallen in love with theater so much.
Yeah, and New York is more the theater town, and LA is more like the movie town. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that's still correct. I think back then especially. That's correct.
Okay.
I think even now, Broadway is Broadway, right?
Right.
But I went out to New York, and I went for pretty much a day. And what happened is, one, I don't know. Look, I didn't realize New York was that damn expensive, right? So this is a true story. I had probably barely $200 to my name, right? And I think one of my buddies rode there with me, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And so we drove out to New York in my old little Oldsmobile Cutlass, right?
Yeah.
And I had set up an audition at this conservatory because I figured I can go out there, get into a conservatory, strengthen my acting skills, then get off into more theater, and what happened is I figured I'd get a room and just kind of like get myself together, go audition, knock on some more doors while I'm there, right? Yeah. Knock out for a few hours, get back on the road, and go back. Right? So I'm just there, just the bam, 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 Right. So I go, and when I get to town, I say, well, let me park first, knock out the audition, go back, change, and then, And I go to park, and the guy's like, it's like $60-something. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
So, I'm like Dave Chappelle and like, was it a half-baked?
Yeah.
Right? He was like, don't mind if I do. My mind instantly starts going like, doing the calculations. Like, wait a minute, $65 for parking?
Yeah.
$65 for parking?
Yeah.
So long story short, I left. The audition was in Manhattan. I left.
Yeah.
Manhattan, went to like, I don't know what they were considered to be, I don't know, but just the outside area, right? You know, and then the parking I think was like, I think I paid maybe like $40.
Wow.
Like $35-$40.
Yeah.
But that difference was major because I still.
You only had so much money.
Yeah, I only had so much money. I still got to get back. I had some unrealistic ideas going on. The young man was completely out of whack here. So I parked there.
Yeah.
And I remember, I had I always had water in a car or truck or whatever. So I remember I had a rag and I cleaned myself up. And my homeboy was walking. So he leaves and straighten up. I said, cool, I'll meet you back, clean myself up. And I remember I walked for so long to get to this audition.
Oh, wow.
And then I get there, and all of the this romantic idea I had about going into this conservatory and, doing this audition, I worked my ass off to, make sure I was, the monologue was, I was hitting my beats. It was, this was it, Yeah. And then I walk into this kind of shithole, office space, do the audition. And, and basically what happens is that, I get kind of rejected on the spot. The guy's like, well, thank you so much for coming out. It was that kind of thing. I was like, all right, thank you so much, it's still professional, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I walked around for I don't know how long. It just, once again, I had this big idea about, about doing theater in New York. And so I walked around and kind of just soaked in everything and soaked in rejection as well,
Yeah.
And I always knew I wanted to do film and television, but my plan was to do more theater first.
Right. Get your chops. And
just really kind of just, I love theater.
It.
So the plan was to do more theater.
Yeah.
And then at some way segue into film and television.
Right.
So because I only had, 3 or 4 years of theater under my belt at the time, right? Which time kind of showed me that was sufficient for what I'm doing, But at the time I felt like I wanted more, and I still love theater. I still
Have
go
you
out for
done
theater
it
auditions. Here? I did a play at the Laguna Playhouse one time.
Okay.
I may have done like 2 plays out here, smaller on a scale, but but still just gives a little bit of that. That energy towards my desire for theater, right? But so long story short, end up, going back and hightailing back to Ohio.
Yeah.
And I remember I went back and I just told myself, well, I might as well just go to LA, just you've been doing theater, for the past, few years, just go get film and television a try, but I really wanted. I was perplexed, first of all, because I had these opportunities coming out of college as well, employment-wise, and I knew that that what I wanted to do was very, very risky. I mean, I had really good job opportunities coming out. To be honest with you, from becoming a soil scientist to whether it be wastewater and water treatment facility, facilities, employment there, and then also Fort Lewis was like the second opportunity in the Army ROTC situation, but I had segued off to Marines OCS and had a ship out date to go to Quantico, and so, but I could not let the acting go, man. It was something in me, and I was like, yo, you got to do it, and it was either live with the regret of not pursuing this at this age because, this age is, or younger is prime for acting, right? You have to hit it early, right? Or live with the regret of not having, some type of military accommodation, as far as, service, so I had to choose. I sat down with one of my mentors at the time, and Dr. Felker, who was the head of the foreign language department.
Lots of doctors going on.
Yeah. Dr. Felker's the dude, man. He was, Dr. Felker is a champion, man. He's still around.
That's cool.
He's still around.
That's good.
But he, like my father, was a Vietnam vet. And he, we sat and we talked, and he said, "Hey, listen, he said, you know, I mean, what you're trying to do is really a young man's game either way. Mm-hmm. But there's always a chance if you ever want to get involved to be a service of your country. And he said, you've already been doing that. You've been volunteering all over the place. You know, you've been doing this, you've been doing that. You've been, you know, so it's not like you're not being in service because to me and to my family, service is a big thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, why not go give your acting a try? Just give it a try. If it doesn't work out, then, you know, you know, figure out a way to, you know, to get that uniform, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, it just made sense. We had a really good talk at the Big Boy. It was Elias, I think. Elias Big Boy.
Big
the restaurant.
Boy.
Yeah, you know that, right? Yeah. You know the restaurant.
There's one in Burbank still.
There is one in Burbank. That's right. Yeah.
It's so bizarre because that's like such a childhood memory, and you're like, oh, Big Boy.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
Burbank to me is kind of a time capsule type area. Like it just,
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird like that.
Sure.
But yeah. All right. So you had a meeting at a Big Boy.
Yeah, at a Big Boy, and he just, what he said just made all the sense in the world. So I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. So I pretty much, you know, sounded the alarm that, hey, I'm gonna be going to California. And, and I went back to Michigan for I think a day, and came out here. And you know, and being out here was interesting because I didn't have. I mean, look, I have this just jump in kind of mentality, right? You know, so I just figured I'd get out there. Same thing in New York. Get out there and get a room, you know. And I get on Sunset, you know, and realize, you know, listen, you know, Sunset and La Brea. It was, I think, a Holiday Inn or something like that. It was some hotel. I remember being there. Yeah. And there was a room available, and I stayed there. It was during the week, I remember, because the rate was a little bit lower. Yeah. And the guy up front, you know, was basically telling me, look, the rate's gonna jump, you know, towards the weekend. Yeah. So I found myself counting my pennies, and I remember I checked out, and I walked down. You know, at this time, Sunset was like, you know, it was like, it was sketchy, to say the least, you know? Yeah. So I'm walking down Sunset, past the, you know, the prostitutes and the pimps and, you know, the drug addicts and, you know, and all that stuff. I'm walking like, man, this kind of looks like Detroit in some ways, you know? So, you know, I was okay. I was walking and ended up at a travel lodge off of Sunset. And the guy there, I was like, look, man, you know, I need a hotel room. You know, and he's looking at me like, you know, is he a pimp? Is he, you know, I'm like, I'm just out here trying to pursue my career as an actor. And the guy was cool. I remember he said, you know, he asked me basically how much can you afford? I'm sure this was against Travelodge, you know, their policy, right? Yeah. But there was like this closet, this kind of like maid's quarter. I don't know what the hell it was. And he was like, "Yo, how much time do you need?" You know, I was like, "Man, you know, I don't know what I told him, a week or whatever, you know." Yeah. And I remember, you know, I cut a deal with him. I think I was giving him, it might have been like $30-$40, if that, maybe, you know, per day. Yeah. You know, and this little room, it had a bed, it had a bathroom, it had, you know, if I remember correctly, it was just like a little maid's quarter almost, you know. Yeah. It wasn't like a full-fledged room. So anyway, once I got settled in there, I remember just walking. I would always walk the city like crazy. Yeah. And I walked to CBS. I walked past CBS, and there was a guy in a guard shack, and I was like, I wonder are they hiring, you know? Yeah. So I walked up to the guard shack. He steps out, you know, I'm sure, you know, curious what's going on while I'm walking up to the shack, you know? Yeah. And I just asked him, I said, are you guys hiring? And he looks at me and says, are you serious? I said, yeah, are you hiring? Yeah. Now, this is how much of a nocturnal animal I am. This is at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right, because I'm just walking the city. This is an easy time to walk the city, get the lay of the land. These are streets. These are, you know, there's not a whole bunch of traffic and horns going on. This is my time to really just digest the city, right?
Did you not drive out here?
The first time, no, because I just once again, the young man just dives in sometimes. So I just dove in, and then once I eventually got the job, I said, well, you got to get a guard card, you know, and so forth on. So I ended up doing that. And
that's CBS on Beverly.
Beverly and Fairfax,
Oh wow.
Yeah, you know.
What year was that?
Oh man, that was
Because I moved out here in 97.
That was 99, 2000?
Dude, you were like right... that? Because I live right behind Fairfax High School. So you were
right.
Yeah, you were like right down the street from me then.
Yeah.
At that time. That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was working at, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah, that's what I was working at, man. And
well, and when I first moved here, I lived for a month, I lived off Gardner and Sunset.
Okay.
So I know exactly what you're talking about because I would go up to Rock and Roll Ralph's and you get crazy street people, you get the pimps, the hookers, they were all out there.
It was crazy.
That was back when Hugh Grant got busted up there.
Oh, is that right? On Sunset?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah, okay.
And he got busted with the hooker, and then there became that whole thing.
Oh, wow, okay.
But that area was crazy at that time.
That area was up there. It was. I'm naturally a people watcher. I like watching people, you know. Yeah. So I mean that was an interesting situation to observe at that time, you know, before they cleaned it up, right?
Yeah.
You know, I imagine it's clean now. I haven't seen it. You know, it wasn't it wasn't like it was before, but
totally.
But yeah, it was interesting just to see how wild it was. I mean, that was a wild strip, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, and then to walk and there was also other streets too. I mean, I was walking from Sunset and Vermont, I think, right?
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah,
you know. So I was walking all throughout the city, you know, all throughout that Hollywood area, you know, just taking in, you know, streets and you know, ended up on Beverly, you know, because I remember seeing, you know, CBS there, but I didn't know, you know, because I was staying at first on Sunset and La Brea, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I went way east and then ended up finding my way back there through some side streets and so forth on. So it was a learning process, and typically I was always walking the city, you know, at night, just kind of taking everything in. But ended up getting a job there, which ultimately I kind of quit and was fired at the same time. That's a whole other story. But but it was a great experience to be in there because it gave me access to really see how certain facets of the business works, right? You know, and then also, you know, it gave me my first television appearance too.
Wow.
So
what was that?
That was a Late Show with Craig Kilborn.
Oh wow. Right, so, I saw that in your thing. It said something about bodyguard.
Yeah. I was Terry Bradshaw's bodyguard, I think it was.
Oh wow.
So what it was, I mean, like he needs a bodyguard, right?
Yeah.
Terry Bradshaw's hands are like, you know, I still to this day remember shaking his hands, and it was like, you know, these clubs with like sandpaper, you know, saying, you know, but real gentleman. But that was a really cool experience because it was him and I think there was a movie called Sleepy Hollow, so it's Casper Van Diem, I think. Something like that, and you know they had this skit where it was like some voiceovers, and I was like this kind of bodyguard heavy to kind of keep Casper Van Diem from fanning out, you know, against Terry Bradshaw. And I was on that set quite a bit. They really did a good job with keeping me, for lack of better words, employed. You know, I don't know whether I think the producers and director, and even they kind of took a liking to me. You know, and they
You're
genuinely.
A likable guy.
I hope so. Sometimes, you know, just don't piss me off, right? You know. But I definitely still saw so much and learned so much. And, you know, even the sound guy there, you know, I have a question, and I think he could see, okay, this guy's interested in more than just the security guard. So he talked to me about the audio and so forth on, and you know, so I was thankful for that opportunity.
That's cool.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, and then I ended up, you know, that went away. It was a crazy story.
Yeah.
You know? I'll tell the story. So. You had to work either Christmas or Thanksgiving. Yeah. That's just in order. Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Yeah.
And what happened is that I said, okay, I'm going to work Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't been home. I had, you know.
Right.
Let me go back and see, you know, check on my folks, everybody know, you know, just kind of see some family, be in some energy because it's important, I think. You know, when you're out trying to accomplish things, it's important to leave the village, right?
Yeah.
But it's also important to kind of, you know, just go back every now and then, right? You know, to get that genuine energy, that energy that's going to help to propel you to the next stage of your journey, right?
Totally.
So I said, cool. Manager says Thanksgiving or Christmas. I'm going to work Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right. I work Thanksgiving, and I get a ticket to go back home. Yeah. And by this point, I had went back already, got my truck, drove cross country, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, so now I'm going to get a ticket to fly back for the holidays, you know. So I remember the schedule comes out, and after Thanksgiving, and it has me working on Christmas, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I call, hey, I work Thanksgiving, this is, it was either one or the other.
Right.
And it was okay, well, we'll have somebody call, okay, fine, and this was an independent security company. This wasn't CBS,
Right.
But they had the contract.
Yeah.
So long story short, someone called back and the management, if you will, and I said, hey guys, I work Thanksgiving. I'm going home for Christmas, because I'm going to see my family. So, and the agreement that came to me from my supervisor was one or the other. So, and it was just a very kind of, take it or leave it, tough luck, kid kind of thing, so you're on the schedule for Christmas. So, this is the time. So, so be it,
Yeah.
So I think they may have thought they were talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
So then my the hell with it attitude kicked in.
Yeah.
And had to repurchase the ticket anyway, which I expressed to them, but in their mind, you need to cancel the ticket and come work,
Yeah.
So long story short, man, I went home and I remember I got a call saying, hey, it's whatever time it was, 4:00,
Yeah.
Where are you? You're scheduled to be here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell them, I told you guys, I agreed to Thanksgiving and Christmas. I work Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So now that you guys went back on the deal, you deal with it.
Yeah.
Make sure you send my check. Happy holidays. Click.
Yeah.
Of course, so that's why I say I'll quit.
Yeah.
Got fired.
Totally.
But it was kind of one of those shady things. But,
yeah.
But I kept relationships out of that, which was very nice because all the CBS people were really kind. I really met some really kind people in there. The guy who used to do my reel was one of the editors on the show. So I would go, get him to do my reel and kind of update it, and he would help me out. There was a business guy there who gave me a lot of insight. I was able to meet, Whoopi Goldberg, which was amazing. And she was so down to earth, man. It was
That's
awesome.
Cool. That's good to hear. Because in the store I worked in, it used to come in all the time. Like, we used to get tons of people.
Sure. Oh yeah, I remember that.
It's always interesting to see who's really cool or not. Yeah. Because I'm not starstruck at all. I never have been. And it's like, I'll see some people. Like today, I came out of a health food store and I walk out and I look up and Mark Maron's looking at me. And I look at him and he goes, "Hi." And I was like, "How you doing?" And he's like, "Good. You?" And I was like, "Good."
Yeah.
And I was just like, that was weird and random, but
sure,
that's LA for you.
That's LA,
But I'm not like, oh my God, it's Mark Maron. And I love his stuff. Mm-hmm. He's great. He's I've followed him for years. But it's funny because you just some people there was very few people that weren't nice.
Sure.
And it's just disappointing. And everybody has a bad day. You might catch them, and they might be wonderful all those other 99 times.
Sure.
So you can't really judge somebody on it. But then when you start hearing stories from other people and they're like, "Nah, that person's an asshole," and you're like, "All right," and they probably were.
It's tough though. Even that secondhand, like who knows what they did to that person? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like totally. You can never take anybody's word. Totally. It's always got to be one. Everybody has good and bad days. Yeah. And two, 100%. On a consistent basis, how did that person treat you? Right. I working in this business, it's always. There are people obviously who like first time I met Sidney Poitier at the UCLA book fair. Yeah, this was years ago. He had published a book called Measure of a Man. I think the name of it was. And I was waiting in the line, and then I'm like, okay, be cool. Yeah, you're an actor too. Yeah. He's the icon.
Yeah, he's a big one.
But just be professional.
Yeah,
get your book signed, and do it. And I get up there. Like I must have turned into like a 3-year-old, and there's like this candy apple that's gonna be sticky, and so I'm just smiling so big, He like stands up, and he like shakes my hand, and he says just very simply, "Do your best."
Wow, that's huge.
And he sits back down and he writes my book, signs my book, and then that was that, and that was and he was sitting. It was like a moment where I was like he acknowledged the admiration. Yeah. I think, and also the just the genuine happiness that I had to see this person whose work I've studied for years, and it was one of those moments, man. It was really cool as an actor. But usually when I'm out, I'm not running up to individuals, and I get into conversations all the time with other actors, with individuals who are on television and so forth, on film, and yeah, everybody has good days, everybody has bad days, but most of my interactions when I bump into someone or I see someone, and I'm just like, oh man, I love Niecy Nash, It's like, Niecy, I love your work, She's like, thank you, or Angela Bassett, Miss Bassett, I saw in Irvine. It's like, like, how can you not pay homage? You got to say something to certain people. It's like, hey, I love your work, even if it's just that. See,
that thought crossed my mind, even seeing Mark Maron today. I wanted to give a compliment, say like, hey man, you've made me laugh so many times. Sure. I just want to say thank you. Sure. And then just simple and walk away.
Sure.
But then I just don't do it most of the time. Sure. I always think like, who would shake me? Who would rattle me? Like someone like Eric Clapton or Prince or Bowie, but obviously that's not going to happen now. Sure. When I first moved here, I worked in a Borders Books part-time, and the day I had off, Prince came in with his entourage, and I was like, damn it, like...
No days off.
No
days off, Andy.
Damn it. But yeah, I don't, because whenever I talk to somebody, I'm just human.
Sure.
Like, but...
Sure.
I always wonder that if someone would rattle me, and I've seen some big ones, like Paul McCartney, Ozzy Osbourne, just really nice, whatever, and I didn't feel weird at all. Mm-hmm. When Paul McCartney came in, like, people were freaking out. Sure. And I was just like, what's up? And like the girl's like, hey, he needs help. And he goes, Andy, I need help. And I was just like, all right, what do you need? And he's just super cool and nice guy.
They're just people. I mean, when it comes down to it, everybody's just people. It's just, we admire work. Yeah. Certain individuals, for whatever reason, based on your preference, more than others, right? But there are people, man. It's just that we do have certain people. Sidney Poitier for me was one where I was just like,
big.
I'm back as a kid. I'm just, there's certain people like for you, Prince, or that just if you met them or had a chance to meet them, just a level of admiration for their work or their overall. 100%. Progress is just like, wow, this is fantastic, And then the people, for the most part, that you see and you just, once again, you love their work, you enjoy their work, and you just want to show, just a moment of admiration and appreciation, which we all love that, So, I never have a problem giving anyone their kudos, and
that's cool.
And, but I always do it in a way, if it's respectful to do so, then I'll do it. If not, then I'll keep it moving, because I do work in this business as well, so that's all.
Yeah. So, okay, so then let's get to your acting career then.
All right.
You did the CBS job. It gave you a good insight into the industry in a lot of different ways.
I was doing acting classes and workshops and everything else too, but absolutely.
And then when did you, because you've done a lot of TV shows and stuff like that. Like, when did you, what was like the first one that was like, oh wow,
I mean, I think probably the next job after that. Look, any job that you can book in this business, right?
Yeah.
Is, because the jobs come so far and few in between. Mm-hmm. Any job is like, oh wow, right? So I think the job after that, I think I may have done Boston Public. Mm-hmm. I believe.
Yeah, I kind of remember that show. Yeah, it was like a lawyer show, right?
No, that's Boston Legal.
Oh, okay.
So Boston Public was about a high school.
Oh, right.
And I think that was the next job. Don't hold me to it. I'm sure the fact checkers out there, if someone wants to, they can take a look at the IMDb. But that was like the next professional job that I did. And I'm doing 2 episodes, I think. I recorded on that show 2 or 3 episodes, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
As a high school kid, which was kind of cool.
Did you have that moment like, now here we go? Or were you more down to earth and just real about it, like, okay, I'm working?
I think after having the New York situation, after having, the initial LA situation, I think that, I always try to maintain a certain level of humility because I think that's important.
Yeah.
But I think that humility was for lack of better words, was in the forefront as it pertains to getting these jobs because I had gone on other auditions and had come close to some things, some really big things that would have. Had I booked it, I said, "Oh wow, this is it, right?"
Yeah.
But I think that I always try to maintain a certain level of humanity and not put, to balance my expectations, right? You know,
yeah.
And I'd say in New York, I mean, I'd say that the kid was dreaming big, and I was, but even then, I understood that there's a chance that I wouldn't get into this conservatory, which I later found out was, according to some individuals, was a sham. So I guess maybe it worked out best.
Yeah.
But I always try to manage my expectations.
Yeah.
Right? You know.
Do you know, going to New York plays, and this is kind of going back in our conversation, but do you know who Miguel Pinheiro is?
I can't say that I do.
Okay, you have some homework.
Okay. I'm horrible with names. I'm better with faces.
Okay. All right. Well,
just let me say that.
Okay, so the whole Lower East Side, like the Basquiat, the Warhol time, there was a playwright guy, Miguel Pinheiro.
Okay.
Benjamin Bratt plays him in a movie. Mm-hmm. So the movie's called Pinheiro. So look up Benjamin Bratt in the movie Pinheiro.
Okay.
And you'll probably really enjoy that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do.
Because, you'll really, I'll just say that.
Okay.
You'll enjoy it.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Because it's pretty interesting, especially, I love that time period in New York. Jim Carroll,
sure.
Basketball Diaries,
sure.
Basquiat, Warhol,
sure.
That was the New York I first was opened up to was in 87. And so that was all kind of just still on the end of, and Basquiat was still alive at that time.
Sure.
It was a really interesting time in New York,
Uh-huh.
But, I think he was around during that time in the 80s somewhere. But I think you'll find it a really cool movie.
I will look it up and take a look for sure. Yeah.
But so then you start getting these TV gigs and stuff like that. Was there one that was a favorite of yours over the years up until now? Because there's two that I want to ask about specifically.
Okay.
But I'll let you speak on it first,
I think, every, not to be general, but honestly, every working situation, I'm truly appreciative,
Because they're all different and
they're all different
in their own way.
Yeah, and they come so far and few in between, at least, starting out, you're trying to build your resume, you're trying to build your reel, right? So, you're going into auditions where potentially there's hundreds of people, if not more, that are, fighting for the same role, right? At the time, whether it was 2 lines or a line or from a co-star to a guest star to recurring, whatever it may be, it's at least me, I'm always thankful, great, I got a job, I've got a chance to breathe life into a character or explore this life or to go play, and so they're all important to me. I think that there are certain roles to where I felt like for whatever reason there was an opportunity maybe to go deeper or based on I love the blues, which is why I would always enjoy you all's music, and I love music as a whole, which is why we vibed, very early on, right, but Supernatural. Playing Robert Johnson was really cool, man, because
that's one of the ones I want to go into.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. We shot that up in Vancouver.
Oh wow!
And just the amount of time that I had to prep for it, as well as the level of focus that at the time I was able to really give to that role. It was, it was such an amazing transformation, to say the least.
Well, that's such a huge, iconic person too.
Absolutely.
I mean, did you feel pressure on that?
I felt more pressure, from, if you will, from Robert Johnson's, spirit or legacy or whatever you want to call it, to make sure that, even though Supernatural is this kind of, horror thriller show, if you will, because he was, such a, he was a very, very real person and such an iconic person.
Yeah.
And me being a lover of blues, it was I really wanted to get it right, so that whatever I brought to the table only really built out
right
the overall, helped to build out the overall episode. I mean, just I wanted what I did to be as spot on and as perfect and as true and honest and as rich, right, as possible. So so that was a great working experience, and I think it was Warner Brothers actually. They were really helpful too. I mean, I had guitar lessons. I learned the song, even though when I watch the episode, it seems like the editing is all synced with my fingers on one line.
Right,
That's just me being a perfectionist,
Yeah.
The average person would notice that, but like I was playing the song, I learned the song and everything, man.
That's amazing.
And, I would, go to Marina Del Rey and have my fedora, and I put my fedora down by the bench, and I would sit there and I would play and, and just completely expose myself because I just wanted to feel how it felt to be a traveling bluesman, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So, and I made a few bucks in the process, right? But at the same time, I was getting comfortable with, with being vulnerable musically. Right. I mean, you as a professional musician, I mean, you've played in front of, hundreds of people, if not more, and then you've played in here by yourself. Me, it's always just when I had my guitar, it was me playing in the comfort of my own confines, my own space. And the only person or people who would hear would be those who I wanted to hear or who were close to me, not just random strangers who might laugh at me, who might, kick my fedora hat and say, you don't deserve a dime, I don't know, but I got really good feedback because individuals would come and they would drop it and I played the part, then. I mean, I was, I really got into character, and that was a great learning experience and growing experience as an actor for me.
Yeah. That's because I had a Robert Johnson tape, and then right before I moved here, my father died within that year, months before I moved, and the day after I got the call at like 1:30 in the morning. So when the next day I went out and bought the Robert Johnson box set. I don't know why, but I just did. And I just listened to that for like weeks. And it's just because the blues, your morning and stuff.
Sure.
I already had the tape, so I knew his music, but there was more in the box set, and I was like, I wanted it, and then that was the day that just sparked it.
Wow.
And it was really weird, but so but yeah, I remember. Here's a funny story about that. Like when I moved here. And I lived on Gardner. I lived in this place for a month, and it was like terrible living situation. Like you padlocked your room that you lived in and stuff. I was microwaving soup and eating peanut butter and jelly for like a month.
Okay,
this
sounds
whole
familiar.
time I was living
Sounds
there.
Familiar.
Yeah. And but it was the Marlins and the Indians in the '97 World Series that fall, and I was just like watching the game, and it was just like in my cubicle, but I answered this ad in the Recycler, I believe, when the Recycler was around for music ads and stuff like that. And this guy on the phone answers, and he's like, he's like, oh, well, who are you influenced by? And I said like, oh, this, Hendrix and Santana and Clapton but like more modern, like John Frusciante, the Chili Peppers, and this, Nick McCabe of the Verve and Johnny Greenwood and Radiohead, whatever. But then at one point I mentioned Robert Johnson, and I said, yeah, and I love Robert Johnson, going into, and he goes, who's that? And I was like, oh man, I was like so bummed that like the person didn't know. Long story short, I end up going to the dude's house like later that week to see the band that he's formed or whatever.
Sure.
And he answers the door, and I kind of like, I'm looking, I'm like, where do I know this dude from? Like, he looks familiar. We walk in the house, and we're walking out to the rehearsal space in the garage, and on the table it says Jared Leto, like a letter to him.
Oh, get out of here.
Oh, my God. I was like, it's Jared Leto. And I was like, this is so funny.
Get out of here, man.
But I remember that first phone conversation. Like, he was kind of evasive, but the whole Robert Johnson thing, and he's like, who's Robert Johnson? I was like, oh, that's so funny. He doesn't know who Robert Johnson is,
He had to be screwing with you.
I don't, you would think.
It's hard for me to think Jared Leto didn't know who.
He was, his band at the time, he was like, we're very Smashing Pumpkins influence. A different world, obviously. But, I was just throwing all my influences out there.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny.
I like 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah.
They actually, they have a song. I mean, I know, look, I'm sure the true rockers have an opinion, right? And electronic guys, everybody's got their opinion.
Totally.
And look, God bless you in your opinion. Me, I listen to all kind of music, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like 30 Seconds, man. I like Smashing Pumpkins too, I've listened to.
I mean, he's talented,
Yeah, for sure. And a talented actor too. His brother's talented too,
Yeah.
I used to sit down. Me and Shane used to catch up. And he was a cool dude, man. Well, I haven't seen him in years, but he was a really cool dude.
Well, as we were talking about celebrities and like people you meet, like Jared was really nice, and then I ran into him at like a Jane's Addiction show. My friend got us these tickets to like a Jane's Addiction show that it was a secret show in a mansion in Bel Air.
Sure.
And they put the stage on the tennis court, and they had an open bar and stuff. And there was only like a certain amount of people there, like a few hundred or something. But there was tons of celebrities. And I'm walking, and he walks up, and he goes, "Hey, man!" And he, and he was really nice. I thought that was cool. He recognized me, So I was like, "God, what a down to earth guy," But that was my celebrity experience when I first moved here, like in the first month. I was like, "Wow, that's weird."
He's done well, man. They've done well, man.
Really good actor.
From the band to acting.
Yeah,
they've done really well, man.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people. Just it's like you're having coffee one day and you look up the next day and it's they're headlining somewhere or they're producing this or producing that, and it's always great to see. It's like their number was called, right?
And it's inspiring, and more as I grow older, I'm more in the fact that like just support everybody because it's not a competition.
That's right.
We're all here to live our own lives.
That's right. Man. That's right.
But the other one I wanted to ask you about was Mad Men.
Sure.
Because that's pretty. I know. You told me once like you're the only black actor on that whole show.
I wasn't the only black actor on the show. No. I think I may have said that at the time. I may have been the only African American actor recurring at the time.
Okay. All right.
They had a couple characters that recurred on there. I think Danielle Ortiz, who's a brilliant actress and heck of a person. I think she recurred on there as well. She played, one of the love interests.
Okay.
Of one of the lead characters. And she did a phenomenal job too.
Yeah.
So there were a few characters that came in and out. I think that my character may have. Throughout the seasons, I think I may have recurred on the show maybe 3 or 4 seasons or something like that. Doing like maybe a couple episodes per season. I think my last season I did 1.
Yeah.
I think 3 seasons. I think I did 1 episode. But it was just such a great experience, man.
Yeah, that was
another show. Yeah, huge show, and there's a big part of me that wished that even more of that character could have been explored.
Right.
I think, in the writing, I do think. I remember there was a time where there was some conversation about my character. My character's name was Hollis, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And there was some conversation about him having written a book. Mm-hmm. So that kind of came up in an episode.
That could have been another tangent.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of felt like, maybe Matthew Weiner and his writers maybe had intentions of exploring, this experience, shall I say, Hollis's experience, from being the fly on the wall in this elevator, hearing it all, seeing it all, being the invincible man, right? He's just a guy who pushes the button. He's not even human, probably in some of these people's mind at the time, right?
Right.
So being privy to all the information, I think that maybe I like to think there was some intentions of exploring that more,
right.
But it just never came to fruition, But it could have been interesting. I mean, it was also that was a great working opportunity because, a lot of the history that I was already aware of, just from, being a black man in this country, right? And being an American, there's so much history. That I was able to really inject into that character's psychology,
You're kind of going into one of my next questions. So there's a 2-part question, like because a lot of what I've seen you do or know of what you've done is more drama type stuff.
Sure.
And so I guess we'll answer this after the second part, but the comedy aspect is what I want to ask something about.
Okay.
But exactly what you're talking about, like on your reel. There's the conversation with you and one of the guys who works in like marketing or something, and he's asking you about
Vincent
the TV
Gardner.
you bought. Yeah,
it was a great. Pete Carroll. Not Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's a coach.
Yeah.
Pete Campbell.
Okay.
Yeah, Pete Campbell. Yeah. No, Vinny's a great actor, man. Yeah.
So there's like, and obviously Robert Johnson, like these different roles, or even the play you referred to that you were doing with the Indians, and you played a slave, like so.
There's an escaped enslaved African.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's be specific, right? There's no such thing as a slave unless somebody makes them a slave, right?
Please
or forces them to be a slave, right? You know, Africans and and black folk weren't born slaves, right?
Right.
You know, they were human beings who were enslaved, right? You know, you can't put the onus on the person who's susceptible to the environment. I think you have to kind of pay respect to the fact that there's a person imposing this idea or this will on them.
Right.
So,
100%.
So not to cut you off. Yeah. Okay.
No. Please do. But so you're playing these roles, and like it's before your time.
Mm-hmm.
But as an African American, you with the history and everything like that, like I guess the question is kind of like, how do you like engage that process, because that's pretty deep subjects, I would say. And then like I said, like the Mad Men took kind of place before, so some of his lingo and what he's talking about when he's asking you about the TV,
sure,
like that doesn't, that's a different time and a different place,
sure.
Or Robert John's different. How do you engage and grow in those roles, and like how does that make you feel as like an actor, or just even as an African American too?
Well, one, I'm a professional, so when you're telling a story, you want to be as honest and exact as possible, So when it comes to these characters who, historically, lived in times where a lot of the racism and prejudice was so overt, and hindered, just everyday life in every capacity, in every way, right?
Yeah.
I think that you try and have an understanding of that time, for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's some obvious acting work, as I say, with character work that's done too, set in that time,
Yeah.
But you want to be as honest as possible. You want to be as true to, to the writer's intentions, right? As well, you have to pay respect to the writing, obviously, but you want to breathe life into it.
Yeah.
So, which means you have to understand what it was like in some capacity to be that person during that time.
Yeah.
And in some ways, that time can be juxtaposed against the current too.
Yeah.
Which means that you're not completely disconnected from, some of the, for lack of better words, issues that were even then maybe more overt.
Yeah.
But that were there. So so there's still a through line there. It's just that, when you explore those characters, whether it be Robert Johnson or Hollis or I don't know, any character, there's always certain through lines that can pull you to a place of clearer understanding, to pay respect to the writing and really breathe life into that character, to be as honest as possible, so that when it does make it to the stage or screen or television or your iPhone or whatever it may be, someone who watches it, they can go through the myriad of emotions, that's intended in order to understand the actual story.
That's kind of what sparked my question too, is because when I watched the reel and you see that conversation between Hollis and the guy nailed it, you see Hollis turn and change his demeanor at a certain point, and you understand why.
Sure.
Because the guy's just pressing him, and it's just inappropriate, and just, it's just, you could see it. You could see it, what's churning there. And
sure.
And I thought you did a great job in creating that tension.
Thank you.
Because I could feel it. You're like, oh no, dude, don't go there. Why are you pissing him off? Like you're going down a road you're not supposed to go down. And it's just just kept pushing it.
Well, Vincent Kartheiser also made it really easy to that scene. Like he is truly like he's a really, really fun scene partner.
Yeah, that's cool.
But if I remember correctly about that role.
Yeah.
And that scene, there was conversation about the American dream.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember there was, I can't remember all the dialogue, but there was something. He was looking to kind of get an understanding of,
Well, you bought the conversation was something like you bought like an RCA TV.
Yeah, why I bought my TV versus another TV, and so forth on, and then it kind of I felt like Pete, that character, kind of missed certain subtleties that Hollis was trying to explain.
Right.
He didn't want to be in a conversation with him in the first place because he knows how this is, it's going to end. It's going to end how it always ends at the time. But when he, speaks to the fact about, something about us that, everyone, he talks about the American dream as if the American dream is something that's attainable for everyone, right? At that time, that was... it was not, for lack of better words,
exactly.
right? So I think that's when Hollis turned away, and realized what kind of conversation he was in. I think maybe he got lost to a point of feeling like we are co-workers having a conversation. We're talking about televisions and wow, I could be of help here. This person respects my opinion, and then it just kind of dissolves into this fact of disillusion.
Just started growing.
Ignorance became bliss. Ignorance became bliss. There's no such thing for me as what you're describing, unfortunately.
100%.
So I haven't seen it in a while, but I think that was the gist of it,
Yeah. So then going to the second part is like, have you done much comedy, or just like, because I've always known you to be more of a dramatic actor, and like,
dude, I love comedy, man.
Yeah,
I do.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I do. Right? Yeah, I love comedy, man. I'm not. Look, I never. I've never been on stage. But as like a stand-up, matter of fact, there was a buddy of mine who had thought that I said I wanted to go up and do stand-up in one of his shows. I'm like, no. First of all, I never said that. I never said that. Although at some point I should probably go to some Scottsdale pub somewhere and do my little 5 minutes just to kind of get the feel, because I've never done stand-up. And as far as comedic acting, I mean, I've done a few comedic shows as an actor. And I love it. I mean, comedy to me is like a great release. It's there's certain brands of comedy I think that I'm better at. I did a show. There was a show on a network. I can't remember the network exactly. It might have been NBC or something like that. But they did a show called Hidden Hills. I remember.
Okay.
And there was a scene where I played opposite this actor, and he asked, he's trying to get tickets, for this. Tickets for this concert or something like that, And the way that I play this character, even to this day when I watch it, I kind of laugh. I'm like, that was pretty funny, that little snippet, So, but no, I love comedy, man. I love watching it. I love, I love the opportunities that I do get to play a comedic or somewhat a role that has those slices of those more comedic, those comedic elements in it, if you will. I enjoy that, man. I enjoy it quite a bit. Yeah,
that's cool. Because like I said, I'm mostly familiar with more of the dramatic stuff you've done, and it's interesting, because whatever platform it is. So like with you, like you also write.
Sure.
And you've directed, you've done your own films, and I'm very grateful you've put a couple of my songs in your films. Like, one of my solo ones, and then also one with Costa Nova.
That's right.
And then Kevin, Jeff,
you guys could have been big. Go ahead, I'm sorry. You guys could have been big, man.
Well, you invited us to the film festival over there in Culver City at the Sony lot. And
that's
the film
right.
played,
that's right.
And we felt like on top of the world, because like our songs in a movie, and like we're going to the premiere thing and stuff, the showing, and it was so fun. Man. And I had that experience when I first moved to LA. Okay. I was in a band with these two girls, and the one girl had just finished her own independent film with her friend.
Okay.
And it was called Me and Will, and her name was Sherry Rose, and her acting partner, I think it was Melissa Bear.
Okay.
And they basically made a film kind of like an homage to Easy Rider.
Okay.
The film was about two women that ride bikes, and they went off to find the Easy Rider bike from the movie. So, and they needed a couple songs. They got all these amazing songs in there, but they needed a couple songs that sort of sounded like Born to Be Wild, because they couldn't get Steppenwolf clearance.
Of course.
I made a couple songs that kind of sounded like that kind of genre of music. And so they had a premiere at, it got on IFC, and they were on one of her big film producer friends had a house in the hills, and he had a catered party for when the night it came on IFC, and just an experience.
That's awesome.
This is in the first year or two that I moved here. And I was like, this is amazing. Like,
yeah,
you know,
man.
And you get those experiences, and you're like, oh wow, like, you know, and it's such like you appreciate it because, you know, you're involved and someone's recognizing you and stuff, you know. So.
But you've got an ear for that. I mean, even the piece you did on Instagram the other day, man, it's like, you know, I was taking a walk.
Yeah.
When it happened, I was like, okay, I got to, you know, get from behind the laptop and let me just walk for a minute. So I got outside, and when I was walking.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got the notification, you know, Andy's live. I'm like, I don't see what the hell Andy's talking about. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so I decided to click on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got the camera set up perfectly on, you know, on your equipment. And it's like, you know, what was it? Was it the guitar amplifier? I think it was, you know? Mm-hmm. So the camera was angled on the amplifier that was just like really poetic in a sense to the sound and the music that you were playing. And I was like, yo, this is really like cinematic.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
I was like, this is like, you know, it's like a great soundtrack to the walk, you know? Like I even probably picked up my pace a little bit. Like this is like some good music,
you had a soundtrack going.
Yeah, I had a soundtrack, exactly.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
But yeah, man, so I didn't mean to, you know, to get you away from your question, but you guys have some great music.
Well,
man.
Thank you. I always appreciate it. You've always been a great supporter of what I've done, and it's vice versa too. Like, I mean, that's why you're here, because I want to support you and put you out there and stuff too.
I appreciate it. But that's one of my regrets that I didn't manage you all.
Oh, yeah.
But I knew nothing about managing. I could have figured it out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it was like, dude, I love these guys' music. It was one of those moments, you know?
Even producing a video.
I know.
Didn't we talk about that at one time?
We talked about that at one time. I think that was around the time that there was some issues that were coming up in the band, I think.
Yeah, maybe. We had like 10 different drummers.
Yeah, the drummers, it was an issue with the drummer, I think, because I wanted to do a video.
Yeah.
There was like that last album with the white cover. It's like a white and blue cover, right?
Oh, that's the first EP,
Okay, first one. Okay, so like there were like 3 or 4 songs on there. Plus, I was like, okay, I see the video for that clearly.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I see all this is okay. Do this, and then I think there was an issue that came about with the drummer. I think.
Jeff left at some point after we came back from tour the first time. Yeah. So I mean, you know, things just work out the way they work out.
Yeah.
You know, but
that's right.
I you know, like you were saying when you said earlier about how like you had this talk with your mentor, the doctor, and you said he encouraged you to do the acting thing, like
sure.
And he, you know, I saw something on TV when I was little, and I almost want to say it was something like Knots Landing or something, but I remember 2 people having a conversation, and I think the guy says to the woman, like, yeah, I never want to look back in life and regret that I didn't do something, you know, and that always stuck with me, and I'm always been grateful, like, that I did it, you know,
sure.
Like, I don't feel, I'm at peace with whatever, because I did it, and I'm still doing it, and, you know, there's no regrets, and you know, so it's like everybody's life path is different. You know,
there's always regrets. I think you know, you just got to learn how to live with them. You know,
totally.
Hence the Jay-Z line, right? You got to learn to live with regrets, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's if I could have split my life and and had a military career and and then had the acting and and then became a soil scientist and then at one point when I was working at FEMA when Hurricane Katrina happened, I wanted to do something. I didn't, I didn't have a lot of money to give, so I was like, what can I do? Let me go volunteer with the Red Cross, and by doing that, I was made aware that FEMA opened an office in Pasadena. So, I said, well, maybe I can go there and help, and end up getting a job. And then over time, they wanted to hire me full time and send me down to New Orleans as a supervisor. But I knew that if I did that, that it would completely pull me away from acting and film and television. I would look up, with the house and whatever parish and and just kind of be completely away from it. So I stayed at that job as long as I could until ultimately, I was kind of made aware that look, they're holding this job for you, and unless you take it, they're not going to offer it to anybody else because they think that at some point you're going to come around and take this. So I had to put my 2 weeks in, but I did a lot of good there. I think when I was there, but to say all that is to say, I wish I could have split my life and we're down there, you know?
There could be a parallel universe where that Monde Byrd is living there.
Yeah. I hope so, you know? Yeah, you got, you know, some female director, you know, some, you know, General Byrd, you know, you got, you know, some football player somewhere, you know, you know, you got some, I don't know, so
yeah. Well, I had the job experience. Like, my friends all worked on art department and stuff.
Okay.
And I used to jump on jobs with them and make, like, you know, some extra side money. And they used to be like, well, you should come and do this with us. And I was just like, I can't, because that would consume my life. And then how would I pursue music? You know? So you kind of, you make those choices in life, and they are what they are.
You learn to live with them.
You know?
Yeah. 100%.
And so we'll get into some fun stuff here a little bit.
Okay.
So,
pause 1 second.
Yeah.
Pause 1 second.
Yeah.
Hold that, Mark. I can always cut to you. Okay, perfect. So let me stop this. I'm gonna bring this around here. Mm-hmm. So give you some. I got it. Give you some cut tos. That way you have something. Here. No, don't move that.
Oh, this has a little battery.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, that one we need to stay kind of consistent. Okay.
Shut low power mode.
No, you can leave that on. It's okay. It's just. I can take this and put this on here. It's okay. Oh, shit. I'm telling you not to kick it. I'm kicking it. Just want to make sure you get a good. See, so now, okay, cool. Okay, oh yeah, don't worry about that. That's okay.
All right.
It's not like we're going to be going for 3 more hours anyway.
No.
Okay. Can you give me one favor?
This probably will be the longest podcast I've done, though.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that it was...
That's the thing. It goes like that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I want to edit out of this. I like everything we've talked about. There's nothing I really want to edit. The other one I edited because we went off on, like, tangents that had nothing to do with the conversation.
Uh-huh.
And they were great tangents, but they just weren't really relevant. But this, I mean, everything we've talked about, like, it's almost like I could do a 2-parter with you, you know?
Yeah, that would probably work too.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So now I've got a little bit of you.
Okay.
Oh, that's good framing. Okay, that's good framing.
All right, get back over there. Okay. So now I got. All right. Is there one out of writing, directing, or acting? Is acting the number one? Like,
I think acting is what keeps me grounded in the business.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me like really tied to it. I mean, that was like the first love, right? So
Right.
So even though I was writing poetry and doing things like that, like it was the acting that said, you know, wow, I've got my hooks in you.
Yeah.
You know,
and everything else has kind of grown off that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was writing poetry before, but it was more me being expressive, right? It was me.
Right.
You know, me having an idea about a poem and you know, trying to do my Shakespeare sonnets kind of thing, right? Yeah. But I didn't really take it as serious as I took acting because acting put the hooks in me.
Yeah. Okay.
So then by that putting the hooks in me, then I realized, oh wow, I can really explore these other things in a certain way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it went.
Is there a movie role, like any film, any genre, any time period? Is there a movie role that you're like, I wish I could have done that role, or not even something you missed out on, but just like it could be a Sidney Poitier movie or something. Sure. You know, like could be Stir Crazy with Richard Pryor. It could be anything. It could be.
That's a hard question. I mean, it's hard because like there's so many probables there. You know, it's totally, like, you know, totally. I think. I mean, every favorite movie that I've ever had, I would have loved to have been in it, right? You know, whether it was Star Wars or Indiana Jones. I was going to make the Star Wars, right? Like, I'd love to have been Han Solo or something. Yeah, like Devil in a Blue Dress. I mean, you know, you look at the job that that Denzel Washington and Don Cheadle and everybody in the movie played. I mean, that movie's a beast, you know.
So there's a lot.
Casablanca, you know. Is there a role for me in Casablanca, you know? Yeah. So I mean, there's always there's always movies that that I think that I admire, that I would have loved to have been involved in some capacity.
Yeah. Okay. So there's no one specific one that stands out. Like Scarface, I would have loved to have played Tony Montana or something. You know?
No. Okay. No, not like that.
Okay. What about give me 3 or 4 of your favorite movies of all time?
I'm a big fan of I love Apocalypse Now.
Oh my God! That's amazing.
Apocalypse Now, and even like Hearts of Darkness, like the documentary. So I think I would probably marry those two in a way. Like I could watch Apocalypse Now and then watch Hearts of Darkness like right after. Because I think it's such a great lesson in filmmaking and acting and directing and perseverance and there's so many lessons to be learned. I think from that film. And also it's just interesting. I enjoy watching it.
Yeah. I could go off on a whole tangent about that
for sure,
and the Vietnam War. And
for sure,
but
for sure.
Let's keep going.
For sure. So I mean that's a great film. I'm a huge fan. I like westerns too. So I mean, I like Unforgiven to me is pretty awesome. Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman and Gene Hackman. I mean, I mean, just those three in a movie, and the story was just amazing. So that's pretty awesome. But if I name that, then I also have to name Buck and the Preacher. So
Buck and the Preacher.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that film. It was a really good film. It was Sidney Poitier. It was a film that Sidney Poitier directed. It was a western.
Okay.
Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. So and.
Because I love westerns, but
I'm trying to think. There were a few names in that film, actors and actresses, and but it was such a it was a really refreshing film for me because I love the West so much, and there's not many films that really delve into the life or the story of African Americans in the West or the Black Cowboy or I mean so watching that film was also refreshing. I mean I'll go places and if I'm at Amoeba somewhere and I see it I'll always buy it. I probably got 10 copies of Buck and the Preacher somewhere because it's just such a cool film. Then also I mean there's what film I like? I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I think I know why. But I also love watching The Great Gatsby.
Oh wow!
The current one, the one that
with Leo.
With Leo, yeah. And I think it's because like there's certain elements in that story of this guy who's trying to do everything he can, right, based on the book, obviously. To woo this love, right? And it's almost like in a sense the level of vulnerability and fear and the level of vulnerability I think that's interwoven in that character, man. It's just so interesting to me, whether it be the book or whether it be the actual film. Reverend did a great job too. I mean I think that he did a great job, obviously, in the original movie. But I don't know. There's something about the style that I like about that film.
Okay, all right.
I mean, there's so many. It's hard for me to say 3 top films, but But
I mean, there's tons that you could go into. Yeah,
and I watch a lot of movies. I mean, Michael Mann, Miami Vice is a movie that I watch so much, man. I probably watch that film maybe like once a month, roughly.
Wow.
Maybe more. Yeah.
Wow.
Collateral.
Collateral. Wait, I know which one is that. That's
the one with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx.
Oh, that's that opens with the scene where you're over LA and the helicopter. Right. What's funny about that movie is being that we're in LA, you watch that and he'll be in downtown, and then all of a sudden he's like a minute later they're on Cahuenga in Hollywood. What? No, come on, man. That doesn't. But we know that
exactly.
But nobody else knows that,
But the way that he shoots it, I move past it because
it's amazing.
The way he shoots it and the way that he captures LA as a whole.
Yeah. That's a great movie.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I watch certain films I just watch quite a bit, and I'm always listening to just the making of, or the director's commentary, or because I'm really interested interested in why shoot this part in film versus digital, why so I'm trying to understand their process, because I think that's also part of what we do in being a professional. You always have to continue to learn, and some of those guys, why not learn from the best, right? Why not learn from these great directors who are making these films that are entertaining, that are in some ways educational or historic, or whatever it may be, right? So I mean, there's so many films. I mean, it's hard for me to name 3, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. I mean, if you want to name more, you can. I
can name a lot.
I was trying to keep it simple.
Okay.
For you. But same thing with like actors. And here's a question I asked my other friend. She's an actor.
Okay.
And I noticed that they've kind of changed that, where actor, actress, like actors just applying across the board now. Is that kind of the way it is?
I've heard both. I mean, I've heard people say actors, and that's referring to the whole. And I've heard people say actress. I've heard women say I'm an actress. I've heard guys say she's an actor. I've heard women say he's an actor, or we're all actors. It's just, I mean. Yeah.
Okay. It's just terminology.
It's terminology, man. It's no big deal.
Totally.
At least in my book. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody else who probably feels differently. And I respect their opinion. But I understand the idea of someone saying, that's an actor and that's an actress. I mean, and if I say that, there's no malice to it. It's just, I understand this to be an actress. I understand it to be an actor.
Yeah.
That's all.
So, favorite actors, actress.
I mean, you definitely have to throw Sydney in there. Yeah. Right.
I kind of figured that was one.
Yeah. And you definitely have to throw, so many, man.
I know.
I mean, you have to throw Meryl Streep in there, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because she comes with the business every time, right?
Yeah.
You have to throw, I mean, all like the Hollywood royalty from Clint and Denzel and Lawrence Fishburne to I mean, it's just so many. You know what I'm saying? Totally. Once again to Angela Bassett to there's just so many. Bea Richards. There's some that I when I think about acting, there's certain actors like who are who are like journeymen in a way, or who they may not be like this big name, but they're always popping up at things or on TV. Whether you look at if any actor can get just a small percentage of the amount of success that someone like Sha McBride, who happens to be a buddy, but who's also a brilliant actor and brilliant writer. Those individuals who are out there every day doing what they love to do and doing a great job at it, but they're not on some of these other platforms other people are. Those individuals are individuals I really admire. The Loretta Devines, who the times that I've always met her has been sweet, and I bumped into her a few times. The Niecy Nash is like there's always certain people who you see and you're like, wow, the Nick Chenlins, there's certain people who are always working, always in a situation where they're staying creative and
you kind of know their face, but you might not know their name. Sometimes. Those are. I mean, I really respect those actors a lot. Because it takes so much to stick in. To stick in it. It's interesting when you see those actors and then they play a certain role, and then you see them in something else and it's completely different. You're like, whoa, that's that person from this.
That's right.
Now they're playing this like evil, boss or something.
That's right.
Whatever the case. And you're like, that's so weird.
Yeah, just great actors or character actors, or
that's what I was going to say. There's a lot of talent in that because you're playing such diverse roles all across the board all the time.
And some of it is because of necessity. Like you have to, you have to do that. You can't, you didn't break out as the huge, box office megastar who's the leading man, right? You look at guys like Forrest Whitaker. Like I have so much respect for him because you look at the work that he's done throughout the years, and then all of a sudden, he wins this Oscar for this role that he just knocked out of the park for sure, right? But now you also look at him in The Godfather of Harlem, You know, and he's playing his role, and the work that he's doing, and the whole, you know, everyone in that show are doing it. It's fantastic.
He was in the newer Star Wars movie Rogue One.
That's right.
Which is one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
It's a good one.
I love that movie.
That's a good one.
And his character in that movie was awesome.
Yeah,
like, it was such a cool character.
100%.
I think if you can, like, I like some of these people that have come into the newer Star Wars movies that already are established actors.
Sure.
And have done a great job, and that's so cool to see, you know. And that movie had a lot of, like, Diego Luna in his role in that movie was great too, and you know. And I already knew these people, so to see them do that, and then they play these cool characters, I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's
really
cool to see. You know?
Yeah, and that's not to take anything from the big name. You know, I mean, look, all those names are big. You know, once again, there's, you know, whether you're talking about a Forrest or a Shai or Nisi, all those names to me are you know,
they
mega. You know, they mean something. You know, and their work means something. You know, but you know, they all mean something. Whether it's Pacino or, you know, I mean, all these guys, you know, Laurence Olivier, all these guys, they, you know, they offer something to be able to take a look at and say, oh wow, you know, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I take from this? You know, you know, and I say guys meaning men and women. You know, the actors and actresses. Yeah. So
what? So. Any future projects coming up that you want to speak about and stuff like that?
Yeah. You know, I literally I directed a short in October. So right now, in that editing stage, you know, there's been some delays, but we'll get it done. We'll get it done.
It takes time.
Yeah, it takes time.
Yeah. What's that called?
We'll get it done, right, Yoni? Huh? Now I'm looking at the camera. Where's the camera? I'm looking at the cameras here. Where's it? You know, Yoni's a brilliant editor that I love working with. He's a great friend and just a talented guy. But he's you know, he's in such high demand that sometimes, you know, it takes a little time to get around to things.
Talent usually is.
So we'll get that done and hopefully get it squared away in time for certain festivals that I would like to submit to.
What's that called, that project?
It's actually
a working title.
It's a working title.
Okay.
It's a take on a date movie.
Okay.
I say.
All right. Wow.
You know, but it's definitely in the realm of somewhat science fiction and thriller.
Okay.
But it's a short piece.
Yeah.
I have an acting job that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
You know, which I hate saying that because we're here to talk.
My first guest, she's an actor, and we couldn't get into a lot of stuff because of the project she was working on.
Sure.
And I was like, all right, we have to make a left turn here. Then,
right.
You know, so I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, but you'll see it on Network TV, which is pretty cool.
Congratulations.
You know, thank you so much.
Well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So that'll be coming up sometime this probably spring, I guess. We'll probably see it sooner than later, in a couple of months.
Yeah.
That'll be on. And of course, always writing, you know, shopping around things, you know, knocking on doors, ringing phones. Yeah. You know, there's always something, you know, going on. There's always something that I'm working on. Yeah. And if not, there's always something I want to do. So
So and if people want to kind of find out more about you, you have your website, LamondeByrd.com.
Everything is Lamont Byrd. If you type in Lamont Byrd, typically on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, www.LamondeByrd, right? You know, you can most definitely find some aspect of the work that I'm doing. So that's just my name is pretty much all you need on Google.
All right, good. Yeah, I came across your Twitter yesterday. I was like, follow.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I go through my phases of being active and on these social platforms. You know, but you know,
it's hard to keep up. There's so much going on. You know,
I always have this idea of hiring some company, and I just can put together a monthly strategy of this month we're gonna go, you know, this, and this month we're gonna go that, and have it run on autopilot. But there's also a part of me that kind of likes the interaction with, you know, it's so cool when you put a picture out there and you know, like your friend, you know, when you respond to things or when you have friends who respond and say, hey, cool picture or whatever. It's cool to interact with your people, your friends and family and audience and whatever it may be. It's always cool, you know.
It gives you good inspiration. It gives you some nice outside validation sometimes. You know, that you might not have heard. You know? Love what you're doing or love this photo, and you feel like, all right, cool. It's just, you know, it's just some nice recognition.
100%.
Sometimes.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything I was going to ask about, and this has been a very great conversation as always that we have.
Absolutely,
and I'm so grateful you were able to make the time and come on here.
No, thank you,
and be one of my guests.
I wouldn't miss it. Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. When you say you were doing this, I was really excited and was waiting to come here and be a part of it. So thanks for having me.
And we'll definitely, I'll definitely have you back. One thing I've told a lot of people is like, yeah, man, I'm going to have you come back. And because now we've got the conversation of who you are. Next conversation will be like one of our normal conversations too. You know, like where we're just delving into, which we did a lot in here too. But yeah, always a welcome guest, of course,
Appreciate it much.
This has been the What's This About podcast, episode number 5 with Monde Byrd. And you can check him out on all those social media platforms we were talking about. His website, www.lemondbyrd.com. And that's pretty much it. Thank you again. And we'll see you again soon.
Later.
All right, we're out.
My man.
It's funny because so my